Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max is coming to you live from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17. And Harry, we have been talking a lot about Kevin Durant, potential destinations. Every single team in the NBA, even that team that just won a championship, should be interested in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. I would imagine the Brooklyn Nets are fielding a multitude of calls across every team, seeing what every single one of them might be interested in giving up in exchange for him. We know the asking price, of course, for a player of KD's caliber is going to be extraordinarily high. And frankly, we've never really seen this before with a guy of this caliber available with 4 years left on his deal. I mean, this never happens because he had just signed a new deal with Brooklyn last year. And so we find ourselves in uncharted territory, but we also find ourselves looking at destinations far beyond just the 2-team list that KD actually gave us. We know that Kevin Durant apparently wants to either go to the Phoenix Suns or Miami Heat. Ooh. However, let's talk about some of these other options. I'm going to get to those potential trade destinations as well. We've talked about a lot of the Warriors. If you miss any of that, if you missed the first hour of the show, you can always check out the podcast on the ESPN app. We talked about the Warriors' potential. Why would they be interested coming off of an NBA title? But we just had a caller in the last segment that mentioned KD's always been chasing LeBron James. What if KD actually teamed up with LeBron James? Let's get crazy here, Harry Douglas. But Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook going to the Nets works. Would the Nets be interested? It's Anthony Davis. Yes, there's durability issues there, but it's Anthony Davis. If he is out there, if he is available, if he can stay healthy to you. Now, they're probably not particularly interested in Russ. You just take that contract back to make the money work. It expires. You get rid of it after a year, right? He's on the final year of his deal. And then you have Kevin Durant in Los Angeles with LeBron James. Do you see this possible at all?
I can't see it. I can't see it, especially when you look at Kevin Durant and you look at those championship series that he played against LeBron James and coming down, and I was at that NBA Finals and transition, and KD pulling up that three-pointer in LeBron's face and basically being the dagger and sending them home, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the time when LeBron was playing with them. I just don't see this happening. I don't think it would be good for the NBA either if LeBron James and Kevin Durant were on the same team. And especially you look at two guys though, where you say, okay, this guy LeBron James was the best player in the league for a very, very long time. Kevin Durant, I think he held that title for a year or two. I think it's Giannis now. I think KD is number 2 currently at the moment, but I just don't see this happening in LA with those two guys being on the same team. I don't ever see that happening, those two guys being on the same team.
I think it would be good for the NBA because it would just be so wild to watch. And of course, we're talking about the Lakers. We're talking about Kevin Durant and LeBron. I mean, they have been chasing each other their whole entire career. You know, who's better? Whose league is it right now? It would be crazy to see those guys team up. I don't think there's any chance in heck that Kevin Durant has any interest in sharing a floor with LeBron James like that, right? Like they're competitors. I don't see them all of a sudden teaming up. But at the same time, I didn't necessarily see him wanting to team up with the Warriors either. And we're having these conversations about, you know, could he go back to the Warriors? The Warriors are apparently reportedly interested. Mark J. Spears told us that the Warriors are interested in acquiring KD. Everybody's interested in acquiring KD. I'm sure the Lakers are also interested in acquiring KD. But if I'm KD, I'm not going back to the Warriors because of the narrative surrounding my time there that, hey, I went to a team that had won 72 and it doesn't really count and I joined a winner. I think if he goes and joins up with LeBron James, I don't know what the narrative is there, right? Because LeBron's older now. I mean, we're talking late 30s for LeBron. That would really be KD's team.
That narrative would be terrible to me. I think that narrative joining LeBron would be worse than it would be him going back to Golden State because.
But LeBron didn't even make the playoffs this last season, so it's not the same as joining the team that just won the championship.
But I understand that. But you compare LeBron. You have a lot of people talking about LeBron and Jordan in the same sentence as being the GOAT and the greatest of all time. Me personally, I think that's Michael Jordan. But why would KD want to go pair it with a guy that a lot of people are considering and comparing to Michael Jordan? I definitely don't see that happening.
Well, and if I'm LeBron, I don't want KD joining my team and outplaying me, right? I mean, not Kevin Durant. Like, it's one thing if the dude in his 20s does it, that I'm like, the next generation, I'm handing over the keys to the kingdom. It's another thing if it's the dude who's been playing alongside of me most of the years of my career and jockeying with me in terms of who's the best player in the NBA. So I don't see that one happening, but man, would it be wild. Another one that I think would be wild, but for totally different reasons, because this is a young, fun team, the Memphis Grizzlies.
Ooh.
Walk down this path with me. They've got assets, so they could do it. They've got multiple first-round picks that they could trade. Presumably, that's probably what the Nets would want. Plus, they've got some pieces that they could give away, too, like Jaren Jackson Jr., Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks. You could trade away some of these young pieces and not totally decimate your team. What do you think about that, KD and Ja? Let's go, Memphis.
I actually like that, and they will probably be the favorites in the West. If not the favorites, I think they will be second. Kevin Durant pairing up with a Ja Morant, that will be scary as hell. You look at the athleticism of Ja Morant. He was must-see TV this year in the NBA. He's getting that max deal as well. Pairing him up with the easy money sniper, the Slim Reaper, that will be dangerous, not in just the Western Conference, but the NBA in totality. When you look at the Memphis Grizzlies and what they've been able to do this year and how they improved and having the second-best record in the Western Conference, it may have been the second-best record in the NBA, if I'm not mistaken. But we've seen how they emerged. Ja Morant got hurt in the playoff series against the Golden State Warriors. There are a lot of question marks. If he didn't get hurt, would the Golden State Warriors would have advanced? I still believe they would have, just because of their history and their experience. But you add a Kevin Durant to a Ja Morant and a Memphis Grizzly, that is dangerous.
And he has not played with an explosive point guard like that.
No.
Going back, I mean, OKC, I guess, would be really the
Russell
last
Wilson,
time. Russ, height
Westbrook.
of Russ. Yeah, but that was back then. That was back in those days.
But let me say this.
Would it be?
He hasn't played with a point guard that's in control, under control, like
and
Ja
Ja's
Morant.
more under control, arguably, than even Westbrook was back then. Let's go out to the call-in line. You can give us a call, 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. Cam is in Louisiana. Cam, where do you have KD going?
KD's going to Dallas.
Okay. Ooh. Joining up with Luka. I mean, Dallas is in desperate need of Kevin Durant. The problem is putting together a deal that brings Kevin Durant to Dallas, and that seems to be the issue there with the Mavs, Harry.
It wouldn't be bad. It's just what is Dallas able to give to the Brooklyn Nets to make the Brooklyn Nets feel comfortable with making that deal. Him being paired up with Luka, two guys who have that dog mentality and two guys who aren't going to take anything from anyone, but it can score at will. The problem lies that we still got to understand Luka doesn't play defense. And the Dallas Mavericks did trade for Christian Wood. Would he be considered in that package as well? So now, are you going to be able to play defense? That's going to be the question when it comes to Dallas.
Well, the problem really with Dallas is they just don't have the picks. Because the Knicks have their 2023 first-round pick that's protected from that Porzingis trade. Like, you assume that the Nets don't just want some, young potential stars in the future, some nice little pieces to get back, and maybe they can work that out with Dallas. Stars is overstating it, but they could get some young pieces back. But the picks wouldn't be coming. That's what would be hard, because we have seen these super teams that they break up and the picks end up resulting in, the Jason Tatums and Jaylen Browns of the world, and those teams end up rebuilding. The picks end up becoming very, very important, of course, to these teams in terms of bouncing back for championships or potential championships down the road. So we assume the Nets want some picks. Dallas is in a tough spot.